Marcus vivisected my 2-month-old fetus alive to save his first love. I was bringing him a cake for his birthday, but I was dragged onto the operating table, bleeding profusely. Be more generous, it's just an unformed child. Human lives are at stake. But he didn't know that the fetus was already non-viable. His pure first love still ended up in the ICU. When he waited for me to apologize, he found out I was already dead. Hearing the doctor's cold words, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cave. Marcus clearly knew I was most afraid of pain, yet he unhesitatingly accepted this decision. No anesthesia. The patient needs to be fully conscious, otherwise the tiny will be affected. I clutched Marcus's clothes, my eyes brimming with tears. He used to be most afraid of seeing me cry. But now, there wasn't a trace of emotion on his face. Instead, impatience spread across it the next second. My fingers loosened, but I still managed to speak. Marcus, this is our child. And that's just an unproven. How could you gamble with our child? My eyes were blurred with tears, crying until I almost lost all strength in my body. He looked at me sideways, without warmth. Be more generous. It's just a child. You can have another. Human lives are at stake. You can't just stand by and watch someone die, can you? Hearing his words, the hand I used to clutch his clothes stiffened. Marcus's first love, Sage, had been bedridden for years. Marcus had searched high and low for this unproven for her, but the doctors had said this unproven was unreliable. He ignored it. Even if it was utterly unreliable, he had to try. Even if it meant losing our only child. Let the surgery begin. Sage is alone at the hospital right now, and I'm worried about her. Every word was piercing, like a sharp sword. Tears welled in the corners of my eyes. I had no strength left to struggle. Cold instruments probed my body, chilling me inch by inch, yet leaving me with a bitter smile in his eyes. Even if I died from this, he probably wouldn't care. The surgery was successful. They placed the tiny in a specimen, carefully protecting it. Marcus didn't even spare me a glance, leaving with a dismissive remark. I'm leaving now. I'll come see you when I have time. But by then, I was hemorrhaging heavily. Sage and I had compatible, rare blood types. Marcus had previously ordered all rare blood types to be reserved for Sage, in case of emergencies. What can we do? The patient is hemorrhaging heavily, and our blood is empty. What else can we do? Grace is the real Mrs. Marcus. If you take it upon yourself to transfer a blood and something happens to her, even 10 of your lives wouldn't be enough to pay for it. I struggled off the operating bed, grabbing their pants, pleading, please, save me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. But they ignored me, watching me breathe my last afterward. They excitedly planned to take credit. I heard Mr. Marcus is willing to spend tens of millions just to make Ms. Sage smile. For so many years, Mr. Marcus has wanted a divorce, but he hasn't been able to get one. Aren't we heroes then? Listening to their chatter, my consciousness faded into chaos. Marcus, this time, it's as you wished. Unexpectedly, my soul didn't leave this world. Instead, I was involuntarily drawn to Marcus's side. His cruelty was unbearable to witness, as if it was merely an insignificant thing to Marcus, but that was our child. I sobbed, covering my face, feeling as if my heart was being ripped apart. Even though it was already 2 months old and had already taken on a human form, yet, it died because of his father's favoritism towards another. My soul silently touched my belly, and the corners of my eyes immediately became wet. Sage, this medicine will be a bit bitter. I bought your favorite to take away the bitterness. Marcus, were you also a thoughtful person? But why, when you were with me, did you never remember my preferences? And you never remembered that I was allergic to mangoes, the only birthday cake I ever asked for. You bought a pineapple. Sage's eyes were red, and she cried softly. Marcus, you should still go be with Grace. If you have a conflict with her because of me, I'll feel very guilty. Sage had said these words to Marcus 1,000 times, but each time, after saying this, Sage would adopt an unwilling posture, as if those words were forced out of her by me. Marcus's face slightly darkened, looking at Sage with a blaming expression, but in the next second, it turned gentle. Oh, you, always thinking of others. Grace is doing well now. Just take your medicine and take care of yourself. I looked at my translucent hand and smiled almost imperceptibly. Marcus, is this what you meant by me doing well? You don't need to feel too guilty. Grace is in good health, and she can have another child, even if it's difficult to get pregnant again. I'll still take care of her. Thanks to you, I will never have my own child again. So, Are you satisfied now? Marcus and I met during a malpractice. At that time, my patient didn't have money for medical expenses and felt I had tampered with something, so they held a grudge against me. It was Marcus who stepped forward. After that, he began to quietly care for me gradually. Sparks of love flew between us. We dated, got engaged, married, and I became pregnant. Until return to the country, everything seemed to be put on pause. Marcus started staying out all night. Then, when I called him again because of a malpractice, he unhesitatingly told me to resign. I refused, and he started to verbally abuse me. You can't even take care of yourself, and you're going to treat others? I've had enough of you ordering me around all these years. Can't you be more sensible? That time, it ended with my concession. That day, I sat in the living room for a long time, weeping as I looked at our bond. He had said he would always protect me. The suits he mentioned were only 3 times, and the mastermind behind the malpractice was Robert, Sage's father. It turned out that in the face of true love, all vows were expendable. Finally, I was pregnant, just when I hoped to have a child of our own. The child left me again. Thankfully, I was already dead, and would no longer be tormented by these things. Sage got better, and Marcus was overjoyed. Everyone contributed to Sage's improvement. Saying that, he gave a cash of 10,000 to everyone. He was so generous. Yet just last week, I was frowning, unable to afford my prenatal checkup fees. He held Sage protectively in his arms, as if afraid she would be caught by the wind. Those who received the cash were thrilled, all praising Sage for finding such a good partner. Ms. Sage is truly blessed. Her boyfriend is so gentle and rich. Yes, Ms. Sage will definitely live a long and prosperous life. I wonder when Mr. Marcus and Ms. Sage's wedding will be held. Would love to attend the wedding. Hearing the word wedding, Marcus imperceptibly paused for a fleeting moment. Marcus realized it had been a long time since he had seen Grace. He decided to visit her today. After all, she had sacrificed so much this time. Sage noticed Marcus's displeasure and changed the subject. Okay, everyone, stop talking. Is there anything else? If not, Marcus and I are going to dinner. Just then, the 2 nurses from the surgery came out. Seeing the cunning smiles on their faces, I knew they were here to take credit. After all, everyone thought Mr. Marcus hated me to the bone. Stalling the divorce and refusing to divorce. Ms. Sage, we have something to tell you. Listening to their joyful tone, I also felt a bit of anticipation. After all, my body had been in the morgue for a long time. Even cremation would be a final resting place. Sage's eyes curved into a smile, showing her gentle demeanor. Speak. Marcus looked at Sage tenderly, his eyes only on her. But that day, when she manipulated the malpractice from behind the scenes, her expression was so sinister and terrifying. Marcus didn't believe it. He couldn't believe his pure first love could have such a demeanor. So he said I was overthinking and being aggressive. Before the 2 nurses could speak, Sage's eyes rolled back and she fainted. Marcus was extremely nervous and quickly called all the doctors in the hospital to treat Sage. He took everything concerning Sage very seriously. Even if I died right beside him, he would unhesitatingly choose Sage, who was merely suffering from a cold. The doctor waved his hand and said softly, "It's nothing, just low blood sugar." Marcus finally breathed a sigh of relief. But after this incident, Sage seemed to be frightened. That night, Marcus said he wanted to go back and check on me, but Sage kept him. Sage's eyes were filled with tears, and she sobbed softly. Marcus, are you blaming me for coming back and messing up your life? Marcus's eyes were full of heartache, and he immediately stopped his steps towards the door. How could I blame you? For all these years, you're the one I'm most sorry for. Sage pressed on relentlessly, leaving Marcus unable to move. Marcus was someone who disliked strong women, but it was perfectly fine for Sage to act this way, while I was stripped of my decent job just for having one. Do you know why I married Grace? Because I knew she could cure your illness. She's a genius. So after that surgery was successful, I never let her show herself in public again. After all, saving you was her greatest honor. Hearing this, I blinked in disbelief. So, everything was under his control. Our meeting, the rescue, the marriage. I looked at the familiar man before me, feeling chills all over. It turned out what I received wasn't love, but Marcus's charity. Marcus didn't leave after all, staying with Sage overnight. In front of Marcus, I had never been stubborn, because I knew Marcus didn't like that. He had warned me many times that he despised those tactics of feigned vulnerability and coyness, and if I acted that way, he would only feel disgust for me. But one sentence from Sage could make him break his bottom line every time. This is good, I thought quietly. In the middle of the night, Marcus sent me a message. Grace, I'll be back to see you tomorrow. You've worked hard these past few days. You did very well this time. I will definitely fulfill my promise of a honeymoon for you. Seeing the satisfied smile on his face, I laughed a self-deprecating smile. He was always like this, so self-righteous. I used to forgive him for his compromises, but not anymore. I had nothing left. So why would I try to please him again? After waiting for 2 minutes, I still didn't reply. Marcus's expression was displeased, his brows slightly furrowed. Yes, I used to reply instantly. This time, it had been so long without a reply. He must be angry. He sent me another message. Grace, there's a limit to being angry. Don't drag it on endlessly, it's just a child. You can have another. How can you just ignore it? I still didn't reply, because I was already dead. I, witnessing this absurd situation, had no reaction because in the next second, I heard another absurd thing. Sage nestled in Marcus's arms, sobbing softly. It turned out that just a second ago, she had learned about her mother's illness. Marcus was still angry, but his anger was extinguished the moment he saw Sage. What's wrong, Sage? Sage cried without speaking, looking intently at Marcus with eyes full of guilt and struggle. My mother doesn't have much time left. Her biggest dream is to see me married. But where can I find someone to marry now? A dying person. After speaking, she cried again. Marcus narrowed his eyes, glanced at his phone screen, typed something, and then said, "It's just a wedding. I can still give you one." On the screen. Grace, I used to think you were gentle and sensible, but I never expected you to be so petty. Since you're so incorrigible, let's get a divorce. Out of sight, out of mind. I still didn't reply. Marcus defiantly patted Sage's shoulder. A cunning glint flashed in Sage's eyes, immediately hidden by a timid expression. But, forget it. Let's not do that. She has already done so much for me. I can't ask for more. At this point, a fierce look reappeared in Marcus's eyes. Then he revealed a shocking secret. If it weren't for her father's misdiagnosis back then, how would you have gotten so sick from the wrong dosage of medicine? This is all what she owes you. I found her just to make her repay her debt. I froze, swaying helplessly in the air. My father didn't misdiagnose back then. If there was a mistake, it was not stopping Betty. Thinking of this, I looked at Sage's eyes and brows, stunned. No, Marcus, it was her mother who wanted her dead. It wasn't my fault, nor my father's, but couldn't hear me. The wedding preparations were fast, almost the wedding of the century in Metropolis, but unexpectedly, Sage vomited blood and was admitted to the ICU. Marcus was on pins and needles, and when the test results came out, it turned out that the fetus used in the medicine was a non-viable fetus, which caused Sage's condition to worsen. Marcus didn't even think twice. He called me immediately, but how could a dead person answer the phone? After 10 unanswered calls, Marcus lost patience. He had no choice but to call my attending physician. Do you know where Grace went? I knew she wasn't replying to my messages, so she was waiting for me here. I was planning to give her a reward, but I didn't expect her to deliberately poison her own child to harm Sage, then pretend to be unaware and let us use it as medicine. Listening to Marcus's words, I stepped back in confusion. How could that be? My child was already dead? Pain swept through my body, almost making me unable to breathe. That was the child I had waited for so long. How could I bear to? Before my attending physician could speak, Marcus's angry voice silenced everyone around. This time, even if it costs Grace her life, she has to pay. This is what she owes Sage. But there was no sound from the other end. Marcus was burning with anxiety, about to burst into an angry shout, but he heard a surprised voice from the other end. Ms. Grace, wasn't Ms. Grace already dead? Mr. Marcus, you didn't know? The words were a sudden revelation. Marcus's lips trembled slightly, and he looked ahead frantically, his eyes filled with disbelief. Soon, someone from the ICU came to him for a signature, but he ignored them. She's dead, Marcus repeated, impatient. Yes, I was already dead. I aimlessly floated around in the air. The other end of the phone simply said, yes, then clarified, Ms. Grace hemorrhaged heavily after the surgery that day and passed away within half an hour after you left, the attending physician said with a tone of regret, but he was just a doctor and couldn't control a patient's fate. Marcus's throat bobbed, and after a long time, he spoke softly, the struggle and guilt almost suffocating him, but he quickly grasped a suspicious point. It was just heavy hemorrhaging. There's so much blood in the blood. How could she die? Is she angry and conspiring with you all to deceive me? Saying that, Marcus ignored the nurses beside him, grabbed his car keys, and rushed towards the door, but the next sentence made his feet feel like they were filled with lead, leaving him unable to move. Mr. Marcus, you forgot. You didn't allow any of the rare blood in the hospital to be touched. Instead of talking so much, Mr. Marcus, you might as well go directly to the morgue to see for yourself. Marcus forced a smile, motionless. I drifted close to him, quietly observing him. Before I could make another move, Marcus rushed towards the door. How is that possible? How could she die? I clearly gave instructions that day. But that day, you only remembered to save your Sage. How did you care about whether I lived or died? Marcus wasn't an impulsive person, but him running 15 red undeniably proved he was panicking. I followed him the whole way, feeling inexplicably confused. Didn't he say my death didn't matter? Wasn't this what I owed Sage? Why, now that I was dead, did he start regretting it? When he rushed to the doorstep, he found the front door wide open, and on the floor, there was still some unswept cake. Marcus's eyes suddenly reddened, tears welling up. Then he looked helplessly at the empty house and started crying aloud. Watching this scene, I first froze, then burst into laughter the next second. Is my death a retribution for you? Sage called Marcus many times. I watched the phone on the table ring and stop and ring, repeatedly, but the phone's owner remained indifferent. Yet, in the past, even when Marcus and I were intimate, he would answer the phone. Marcus was silent for a long time because he saw the letter I had written to him. It was a letter for his birthday, and next to it was a gift, a tie. Marcus's ties had always been chosen by Sage, but I still self-deceptively chose another one. He didn't hesitate at all, clutching the tie to his chest and sobbing uncontrollably, and the next second, he squatted beside the cake, which was already covered in dust. Marcus didn't like eating cake, but I would always buy it for him. Gradually, he couldn't argue with me and slowly accepted it. But ever since Sage returned to the country, he never ate the cakes I made again. He pondered for half a second, then grabbed the cake from the floor and shoved it into his mouth. He ate it ravenously, as if it were some rare delicacy. But his birthday had passed half a month ago. This cake was already full of bacteria, yet cherished it. Eating big mouthfuls, I remained indifferent, watching like a bystander observing a clown. His tears mixed with his saliva, making him look utterly disheveled, but seemed not to care. Grace, I ate the cake you made. Can you come back and see me? Didn't we agree you wouldn't leave me? How did you break your promise? He stopped eating and sat there blankly. Are you angry and hiding from me? Grace, please come back, okay? Watching his feigned remorse, I felt almost nauseous. Why did you deceive me? And why were you so cruel to me? What did I do wrong? What did the child in my belly do wrong? I looked at Marcus, who was sobbing uncontrollably, with great calmness. I could never forgive him. Unexpectedly, Sage and Robert and Eleanor showed up at the door. Seeing the disheveled and embarrassed Marcus, Sage froze, and Robert and Eleanor's faces also showed disdain, but remained indifferent, only looking up. What are you doing here? His voice was slightly distant, but the old Marcus used to particularly flatter these two. Afraid they would be even slightly displeased with him, Sage froze in place, then tried to cover for Marcus. Is upset with you again. Maybe I should apologize to her. After all, it's because of me that you two are like this. Don't think Grace has a bad temper. It's understandable for a woman to be jealous. Watching her feigned concern, I snorted ironically twice. Marcus ignored her and got up on his own, packing the remaining cake from the floor. Robert and Eleanor saw this and frowned disdainfully. You're not going to eat that, are you? Marcus, don't be so petty. Your elders, came all this way, and you're not even going to entertain us. Marcus looked up, his eyes turning grim, but he didn't lash out, merely saying lightly, then have a seat. Sage looked at Robert and Eleanor's expressions and tried to persuade Marcus. You should just throw that cake away. It's disgusting. It's all melted into water, and the cake base is moldy. It wasn't until he heard this that Marcus seemed to snap out of a dream. He gave Sage a sideways glance, but didn't lose his temper. You don't understand. This is the cake Grace gave me. I can't waste it. She'd be angry if I did. I had always been frugal since childhood and couldn't stand people wasting things. Marcus knew this habit of mine and always adhered to it, but once, on his birthday, Sage said she was afraid of the dark and asked him to accompany her. Marcus barely touched his food and rushed over without delay. I finished the entire table of dishes with tears in my eyes. Marcus knew, but felt no pity, only blame. Do you have to act like this? Grace, don't be so ridiculous. No one will remember what you say forever. Sage didn't care. Instead, she started to criticize me. Grace is truly something else. Why does she insist on making you eat all this? I used to feel sorry for her. But now it seems you really saved the wrong person in that malpractice. Hearing's harsh words, Marcus's eyes widened, as if trying to see through her. How can you say that? This was the first time Marcus had defended me in front of Sage, but I was already dead. I would never again be moved by his favoritism. When a person dies, their heart seems to go with them. Sage stiffened imperceptibly, and before she could speak, her harsh Robert and Eleanor spoke up. Grace, you mean that ex-wife of yours who wouldn't let go? Marcus, how did you handle this? People like her deserve to suffer a bit, preferably get sick and have a misdiagnosis to punish her, to make her experience what it's like to be unable to live and unable to die. This time, it was Marcus's turn to be shocked. He looked at the two of them, his hands trembling. The two of them showed no sign of noticing Marcus's surprise, recounting the events of that year. Of course, wasn't Sage like that back then? Absolutely devoted to a man, so I deliberately told the nurse the wrong medical condition, causing the doctor to prescribe the wrong medicine, and we even got a lot of compensation. After this, didn't Sage become docile? Marcus pressed closer, looking at the two of them. Sage tried to step forward and stop them, but Marcus shoved her to the ground with a slap. This was the first time Marcus had done that to her, but said nothing, only pulling Marcus, arguing. Listen to me, Marcus, it's not like that, it's not like that, believe me. Marcus didn't respond to her, his eyes bloodshot. You mean, even Sage's misdiagnosis wasn't the doctor's doing, but your deliberate act? Eleanor didn't care, arrogantly saying, if I didn't frame him, how would I get compensation? Are you stupid? Just as her mother was about to lecture Marcus again, Marcus picked up his phone and unhesitatingly dialed 911. You despicable and vile people. I'm going to make you pay for your actions. From beginning to end, I had no reaction. Only in the next second, I burst into tears. Because of their schemes, my father lost his job, and he couldn't believe he had almost killed someone. Slowly, he was enveloped by pain and guilt, and developed severe depression. On a Newsday filled with family happiness, my father jumped from a tall building. At that time, I never understood my father. I thought he was unwilling to admit it, but I never imagined he was just a victim used by others to claim compensation. My soul trembled uncontrollably as I cried. Why, even after I died, did I have to learn all this? Are you sick? How dare you treat us like this? I advise you to immediately tell the police that you made a false report. Otherwise you'll never be able to marry our Sage. Sage grabbed Robert and Eleanor's pants legs but didn't budge an inch. Eleanor kicked her mercilessly in the chest, cursing, You vile hussy, what kind of partner did you find? How dare he treat us like this? I even treated him like family and told him all this. It's infuriating. Sage cried profusely, begging softly, Don't say any more, don't say any more, get out of here. If it weren't for your soft heart, your father and I would have already been enjoying our money. Why would we be wandering around like you? Marcus's grim eyes once again fell on them, cold and devoid of warmth. Sage, so you always knew, and you've been deceiving me like a dog all these years, haven't you? So you knew it wasn't Grace's father, yet you stood by and watched me hurt her. Sage, I truly misjudged you. Listening to Marcus's questioning of Sage, my heart was unmoved. After all, Marcus not believing me was something I had become accustomed to. Many times, when Sage slandered me, Marcus would completely believe her. Even when the evidence was right in front of him, he would ignore it. Sage and Robert and Eleanor were all sent to the police. During this time, Marcus finally entered the morgue. He saw my emaciated self on the hospital bed. He tremblingly walked towards me, but hesitated to lift the white sheet. A cold gust of wind blew past. Yet Marcus was unexpectedly calm. Marcus was very afraid of ghosts. Even if he knew they weren't real, he would be scared. Especially afraid of a bloody me. Although I had already been processed, there were still unwashed bloodstains on my face. This showed how tragic the situation was that day. His fingers curled, but he didn't touch my face. Instead, he placed my hand on his cheek. Grace, why didn't you visit me in a dream? I didn't know. I'm sorry. I really didn't know it would be like this." His sobs echoed in the morgue, eerie and terrifying, yet seemed unafraid. Kissing my forehead, my soul frowned, feeling extremely repulsed by his actions. "Even though I had already detached from that body, is there nothing I can do to earn your forgiveness?" "Grace, I truly know I was wrong that day. I didn't expect it to be like that. Forgive that day. I originally had hope of living, but his concern for Sage stripped me of that possibility, leaving me to lie here alone, unvisited, and my child, used as a medicinal ingredient for someone else." Tears slowly fell. But my heart had long been unmoved. After leaving the morgue, Marcus encountered the two nurses. The nurses greeted Marcus gleefully. Mr. Marcus, you're here." Marcus's eyes narrowed, looking at them with caution and scrutiny. "Mr. Marcus, truthfully, we played a part in you and Ms. Sage getting married." Marcus was confused, turning his head to look at them, signaling them to continue. "If we hadn't insisted on not giving those blood to save that patient, she would probably have caused you a lot more trouble." Hearing these words, Marcus was shocked again. So his attitude had been Grace's demise. He had clearly been trying to escape, but found he couldn't escape at all, and seemed to be sinking deeper and deeper. "Of course, there's no point in us saying all this. We just want to congratulate Mr. Marcus and Ms. Sage on a long and happy marriage." Marcus said nothing more, turning and leaving. The two nurses were puzzled but couldn't come to any conclusion. After all, how could they know that Marcus had been deceived for 4 or 5 years? And the person he hated most now was Sage. Marcus set Sage's wedding on fire, then put on his wedding ring, the one he shared with me. To me, this just seemed pointless. Doing this was just for his own self-indulgence. The next day, he went to the police. Unexpectedly, Robert and Eleanor were about to be released. It turned out there was no evidence from the deceased, and the police didn't know where to start. Marcus said nothing, turning to leave, but Sage grabbed him. "Marcus, believe me. I didn't want this. Believe me, I have proof. As long as you believe me, I can give you the proof." Sage finally compromised with Marcus. For so many years, she had always been arrogant and proud. In the year she graduated from high school, she fell in love with someone. But after an episode of illness, that person decisively abandoned her. Sage's arrogant and proud nature was half worn away, until she met Marcus, who deeply believed in her and loved her to the bone. She gradually fell in love with Marcus but found that Marcus was married, so she tried everything to drive that person away. The last time was when Marcus found that unproven. She thought she had truly driven that person away, but she never expected that person died because of her. She didn't want this. "Marcus, I only have you. You can't abandon me." Marcus froze, gripping his hand and turning to look at Sage. "Sage, I truly love you, but she was my wife after all. I can't keep wronging her. But all these years, you barely did anything right by me." I aimlessly floated around him, both crying and laughing. Based on Sage's confession, Marcus finally understood. It turned out that the reason Robert and Eleanor did what they did was, firstly, to punish Sage, and secondly, to save up a bride price for Sage's younger brother. Hearing this absurd reason, I wished I could tear them to shreds. Marcus silently clenched his fists and said steadily, "But you have no evidence." Sage took out a voice. Inside is the recording of their conversation that day. Saying that, Sage's eyes were wet. "Marcus, you won't let me down, will you? I've bet everything on you." But just snatched the voice and left without looking back. The recorder was handed over to the police, and the case was quickly concluded. On the day the truth came to light, Marcus stood outside the hospital for a long time. He hesitated to see me one last time, but after much thought, he still went. At my funeral, he was the only one there. Beside my coffin, he placed another tiny coffin. "Grace, I know you won't forgive me, but this is all I can do. I shouldn't have stripped you of your dreams, and I certainly shouldn't have put someone else's blame on you. We used to love each other so much. But why did it end so tragically?" He cried until he couldn't control himself. Marcus sat by the gravestone for a long time, until sunset. Before slowly standing up, he returned to the home where he was now alone. Sage wasn't imprisoned. Robert and Eleanor were sentenced to 10 years and would be almost incapacitated when they got out. Unexpectedly, Sage was there. Sage's face was pale. Seeing, she first froze, then quickly reacted. "Marcus, it's all over. Let's get married, shall we? You said that as long as I told you those things, you'd be properly with me." She stepped forward and grabbed Marcus's clothes, but he directly shook her off. Marcus rarely drank, but this time, as soon as he returned, he headed for the liquor. He drank wine glass after glass. As if only this could numb himself. Get out. Marcus pushed Sage away. Do you know that now, every time I see you, I feel utterly disgusted? If it weren't for you, Grace and I would have a child. We would be happy and complete, not separated by death as we are now. He repeatedly accused Sage of her crimes. I floated to his side, wanting to slap him hard, but my hand passed through nothing. Finally, I sadly floated onto my favorite lamp, watching the two of them go mad. Why were their love and hate sacrificing me? I sighed. Sage knelt before Marcus, kowtowing, but didn't even spare her a glance. Sage wouldn't give up, finally looking at my memorial photo. As if making a desperate gamble, she grabbed the memorial photo and rushed to the window. Marcus, do you think you're being so devoted now? Let me tell you, even if you commit joint suicide with Grace now, she'll never forgive you. That sentence seemed to strike Marcus deeply. Slightly tipsy, he saw my memorial photo dangling in mid-air, his eyes turning bloodshot. Sage, if you dare throw that down, I swear I won't let you off. I watched the scene calmly, humming softly to myself. I'd never seen Marcus cherish anything of mine so much. The scarf I meticulously knitted for him, he couldn't even remember where it was. The handmade gift I stayed up all night to make, he carelessly tossed into the trash. Things my mother gave him, he completely ignored, but now that I was dead, he was starting to cherish my things. It truly left one speechless. Sage looked at Marcus, her eyes brimming with tears. She murmured, "Do you know how much I gave up for you? And you actually fell in love with her? How could you possibly love her? Wasn't your whole reason for getting close to her because of me?" Yes, how could someone as arrogant as Marcus fall in love with me? After all his elaborate schemes against me, how could he possibly be interested in someone like me, so foolishly taken in by his schemes? That sentence made Marcus hesitate. He looked up, considered it carefully, but still said nothing. But just as Sage moved closer to him, Marcus blurted out anxiously, I did fall in love with her. Is there something shameful about that? So love really could overcome all difficulties, and I could have been the one. Marcus broke his own rules to love, but that had nothing to do with me. I no longer wanted to be confined by this desolate, absurd love and hatred. Sage froze for a moment, then burst out laughing. Don't forget, you never cherished her all these years. For my sake, you constantly bullied her. You never believed anything she said, and even, for an unfounded, unproven remedy, you personally killed your own child. Hearing this, Marcus's lips trembled, and he couldn't speak another word. He had been trying to find reasons to forgive himself, but it was like adding insult to injury. Those painful truths, like sharp needles, struck him from all directions, leaving him completely unprepared. It's all you, Sage. You were the one scheming against me. Marcus lunged forward. Sage smiled faintly, then threw the memorial photo out the window. Marcus immediately chased after it, leaping from the high-rise building. Afterward, Sage's face showed panic, and she didn't know what to do. She had thought her strange emotions were just a bluff, but she never expected that, like the foolish Marcus, she too had fallen deeply into the whirlpool of love, for some reason. As I saw Marcus fall from the high rise, my soul trembled violently. Then, before the first ray of dawn appeared, I vanished without a trace. Sage was taken to the police for questioning. The people there saw a frantic Sage and couldn't get any coherent answers from her, but releasing her into society would also be a danger. Left with no choice, they could only commit her to a state hospital. No one knew Sage's illness was severe and required constant medication, so when Sage was suffering from an episode and tossing and turning in pain, the orderlies chose to ignore her. One night, Sage had another episode. Enraging the patients in other beds, that person directly stabbed Sage in the chest. Watching gradually grow still, he smiled contentedly. He turned away coldly and said, "Finally, it's quiet by morning." Sage had long since stopped breathing. The cause of death was severe bleeding. That stab had hit her main artery. She was then hastily sent to the funeral, cremated into a handful of ashes, and scattered carelessly.